episode of Talk That Get Results. I'm Edward Weber Herbert, and as per usual, we're here every Tuesday evening with something that at least we think is of community interest and or of some concern. And if you think that you have something which fits into that category, you'd like to find out how you can be a part of the program, well, why don't you drop us a line, address it to the Let's Talk program in care of On Radio, P.O. Box 195 Charlestown in Nevis. So give us a call. Our numbers are 1-869-469-1616 and or 1700. By the way, those will be the numbers you'll use to be a part of this evening's discussion. Here's a suggestion. You got a question or a comment, perhaps you can get a pencil, a piece of paper, write it down so that when you're getting on the show, you take as little time as possible so we can accommodate as many of you as we can. We ask only, first of all, that you respect yourselves and then respect others, because we will not accept anything we deem not within our broadcast standards. Again, thank you all again for joining us. This is your voice in the community, Talk That Get Results. And by the way, you can follow us, our live video stream, on our Facebook page, or you can go to your YouTube and subscribe to us and view the program with the live video streaming. Tonight, Edric W. Stanley, good evening.
Good evening, Webo. And good evening to my fellow panelists. Good evening to the listening and viewing audiences. Good evening to those people in St. Kitts, of course, and the graceful people of Nevis. I had something thrown at me last week, anyway, not last week, but the week before, however. Naya mentioned that the Oddfellows have ran things for a long time, and I want to challenge him to ask him if he would understand his last name.
Okay, let's challenge him after we get everybody in. So, the Honorable Spencer Brand, good evening.
Good evening, Rebel, and good evening to my colleagues around the table. Let me say a very pleasant good evening to the listeners and viewers of this program here on the island of Nevis, in the Federation, and throughout the entire world, really. Let me say good evening to those families, Rebel, tonight who are in mourning for the loss of a loved one, a friend, a colleague. I hope that they can remember their loved one, fond memories, and remember them in ways that would uplift them, despite they might be going through some difficult times. To those who are celebrating tonight, whether it's a birthday, a wedding anniversary, or some accomplishment in their life, I want to say congratulations to them. Webo, it is indeed a privilege to be here once again, and I'm certainly looking forward to tonight's discussion. Good evening, Webo.
Teddy Hobson, good evening.
Good evening, Webo, and of course, good evening to my fellow panelists. Webo, as usual, I'm extremely honored and privileged to be able to speak to the people of Nevis and St. Kitts, wherever they may be, whether they're on the island or whether they're in the diaspora. And I sincerely hope that we will have a good discussion tonight, and that we will be able to improve the conditions of life for our people wherever they are.
Conrad Naya Liebert, good evening.
Good evening, Webo, and a pleasant good evening to my colleagues around the table, to your hard-working staff. Good evening to everyone in tune to the program, my friends in the international circle, of course. Mr. Hobson always want to know who are these people. They're real people, Mr. Hobson. And yes, Webo, I'm looking forward once again to a very good debate. Of course, we're in that period coming up to Christmas, after independence, and it's that kind of lug it feels like sometimes in the whole economy, and I've been told and reminded of it sometimes, which of course, I personally has no measure on that, but of course I sometimes like to report what people meet me on the street and talk about good things anyway. We see a housing project being unfolded in St. Kitts, housing repair, roof repair. I myself doing a bit of repair to my roof caused by the hurricane, but because I don't think that program is extended to Nevis, I'm not sure. I've got to look into that. But do I see it looks like there's a delay at the pier over at Woolley Beach. Not too sure. What else do I see? It looks like there's a delay in Brown Hill Road. Not too sure, but it looks that way to me. And of course, you know, there are other good things that are happening. We see also there's a delay at the hospital. They find asbestos there. These are the things that's in the newspaper, so sometimes I just want to highlight them. And once again, Webo, I'm happy to be here tonight.
Dr. Patricia Bartlett, good evening.
Good evening, Webo. Good evening to my fellow panelists. Good evening to the entire listening and viewing audiences. Good evening to my friends, especially those in St. Thomas, Anne, Pam, and Mr. Martin, my husband in the UK, and all the other people. I think I have, my nephew in the US. I would like to extend some good evening greetings to him as well. Thanks for the invitation to join you tonight, Webo.
Dr. Patricia Bartlett, Conrad Naya-Liebert, Ted Hobson, Spencer Brand, and Edric W. Stanley. They're the heavyweights and they're in. Now I purposely started with Stanley so I can come back to him to start the discussion. But you know, Mr. Stanley, when people sometimes hear me open up the show and I would say, well, everybody meets me and they talk about Stanley, right? Sometimes they think I make up stuff. So I got, every now and then we get a mail. You know, a lot of people don't write anymore. But every now and then, you know, somebody will take the time out to write. And this is quite a long mail with a comprehensive evaluation of Vaughan Radio, right? And the person been listening for 30 years. They started with us. Most of it is good. The rest of it is some good, hard, constructive criticism. And what I find is fascinating about it, as I said, it is over the entire operation. And what I find is fascinating about it, I highlighted a few sections because I don't know whether anybody could write a complete evaluation without, in the first paragraph, hear this. It is evident that Edric Stanley is a strategist and often starts the war of words that even Pat will have to let him know he does not have to oppose everything.
That's in the first paragraph, Webo?
In the first paragraph. The person started by speaking about the versatility of the panel in discussing not only local and regional matters, but also international affairs. And the person likens this discussion, the program, to Robert Novak, the late Robert Novak,
Crossfire.
and Kingsley et al. Of CNN fame. Crossfire. Right? So, and then it goes down. I'm just, you know, doing a few lines of it. And the person made an interesting observation in terms of in general in the society. The person says, I have lived long enough to see many people in authority try to manipulate systems and fail because other good people stopped their madness. Now, what preceded this was the encouragement to you, the panel, when you go out on a limb and stand up for what you think is fair and right and decent, in spite of, sometimes they said they're using my term, the cussing that you get from people and the spite meted out by persons in authority. Also, it says, let me see. It says Ted Hobson. Last week, when Ted was on Let's Talk, I was amazed how he was rattling off the names of some of the Americans who were very high profile. He probably did not know the topic, didn't study it, but at his age, he had me awed that these names and thoughts were at his fingertips without being prompted. In case they do not know, although we only refer to him as Ted, he is, say it, Brian.
QC, actually.
QC. Theodore L. Hobson, QC. But the good thing about it is that when you don't have to say who a person is, but by the contribution that they make, you find out they are. And that's what's coming out in TED. So there was something he said there about Naya, but I didn't have it highlighted. But everybody came in. Okay? All right. And as I said, a lot of it is about the other thing with the station and so on and so forth. Okay, so Edric, back to you.
Well, I must congratulate the person because it takes a certain level of skill to write. Effort and, of course, time. And those people with that skill, I have to congratulate anybody who writes. It's a great skill. Now, he says that in your opening, and I'm a strategist. That is his opinion. But the more important thing he said is that I don't have to oppose everything. But let me say this clearly. Based on my experience and based on the part I want to play in this nation and my community, I cannot sit here and hear people say things that would guide our people or mislead our people without uttering a position on it. And I would give you certain bit of information as to support my position, and I would support it vehemently. So if someone sees or hears and categorizes Edric Stanley as one who opposes everything, they might have to do a deeper analysis to truly understand who Edric Stanley is, and if they do not become familiar with whatever the subject matter is, they may have it just as wrong as anybody else. And did they mention Pat in my opposing? So my main thing is that if I hear someone with something, especially someone who has a certain level of influence in this community, that can mislead our people, I have a national and personal obligation to set the record straight based on how I know the facts. Some people don't want to hear the facts. And I would just make a reference to a particular issue that I was backed into a corner, and I say, I'll present you the facts. They say, I don't want to hear or see the facts. They jump to a conclusion without the facts. And you obviously always said, bring me the evidence. So again, when I am on this program, my obligation, and this is one of the reasons why I said that it is an obligation for us to be here, to lead our nation upward and onward, and to disseminate information that are correct, meaningful, thoughtful, and to give those or listening audience or audiences viewing now the opportunity to be guided by the information we disseminate from this radio station. Webber, again, I would always defend my position vehemently, simply because I have my facts. And I will not yield to anybody who seemingly has an opinion. And this is one of the reasons why I said everybody's not entitled to their opinion, because that opinion is an opinion that could mislead and ultimately cause a tremendous amount of damage to the direction in which we want to go, to the direction in which certain people should be going. And as a result, I have an obligation, again, a little repetitious, like a broken record, but to state it the way I see it and will give the justification of my position. Webo. I could bring several cases. I mean, I could bring a few cases in point, but I leave it there because we've got 2 hours.
So you mean
I'd like to disagree with Stanley with one thing. He said
Yes.
a while ago that everybody's not entitled to.
I disagree with him too.
Yeah, I find it very strange. I could remember when I was in fifth form, we had our principal was a man called Guston Orville Fox. And, you know, on a Friday afternoon, he always had a session on current affairs. And one of the things he always highlights is everybody is entitled to his or her opinion. And I think that is a truism that I don't think that Stanley coming up with some people don't have no right to an opinion. Everybody has a right to his or her opinion, no matter whether you respect it or not. So I find that extremely alarming.
Your opinion, Mr. Stanley, however, is different from the facts, huh? So,
Yeah.
No, you should not have an opinion that would be different. That should be different from the facts. What I'm saying to you is, if you're an influential person and you have an opinion on a subject matter,
But opinion and facts are two different
different
things.
things.
But that is
I-
the problem. You see, Stanley
Opinion
always
and
have an
facts are
opinion and he
two
never has the
different
facts.
the thing is that I rather to listen to somebody who would coin their, if you want to call it the opinion, predicated on the facts.
But how about this, Mr. Stanley? If a person has an opinion, he is entitled to it, but the person who knows the facts has an obligation to state the facts so that they will be aware of the facts in relation to their opinion.
Well, you can explain it, and good explanation you've just given. My thing is that I prefer a person to, if you have to do research, as the case might be, but don't come up with an opinion that can mislead people, and we know that happens all the time, when the facts are there. What is required is some time, a certain amount of due diligence, and ultimately you will arrive at the facts and to state what you have to state. If you want to label it your opinion, you will label it your opinion. I'm just saying to you, a person who gives out information
But
that is
you
misleading.
but you would agree though, an opinion is not necessarily always based on the facts. An opinion is based sometimes on a thought, you know, something what you think, you know, and perhaps another way of looking at the same, you know, whatever you're discussing. You agree with that?
Webo, we are in the 21st century. Let's bring the planters back to these islands. They made a lot of money from sugarcane, cotton, indigo, tobacco, as the case might be. No, there are other things coming to the fore in
That's
the
what you
21st
meant.
century.
That's what you meant when you say you can give example for the whole 2 hours. That's
No, I
it.
said
So
maybe 2 hours.
let's don't do.
Let me simplify it, Nico.
Why don't we?
So,
Why don't we do this? I'm really due for a break.
Yes.
So let me take the break, and when we come back, we'll move on to something else.
I just wanted to indicate something.
This is Thought That Get Results. Edric W. Stanley, Spencer Brand, Ted Hobson, Conrad Nye-Liebert, Dr. Patricia Bartlett. We'll be back after these.
Get your generators now and be prepared for the upcoming hurricane season at Builders Paradise for only $2,250. Yes, you heard that right. $2,250. Located at C.A. Paul Southwell Industrial Park, Basse-Terre, St. Kitts. Builders Paradise is there to help you to be prepared. Builders Paradise, where your island dreams begin.
Island Roofing and Hardware Limited, located next to the Mondo Truck on Long Point Road, Nevis, specializes in the manufacture of 24-gauge pre-painted Galvalume roof sheets and the sale of tropical green hat lumber. They offer the traditional corrugated roof design for residential buildings along with the U-panel design for commercial buildings. Their roof sheets measure 42 inches in width and are manufactured on site and can be cut to whatever length you desire, thus eliminating the need for joining your roof sheets. Their aluminum-based roofing sheets, which are available at an affordable price of only $14 per foot, are of the highest quality. Their opening hours are Monday to Friday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. daily. For more information, call 664-2441 or 664-2959. Island Roofing and Hardware Limited, meeting your complete roofing needs by providing quality products at affordable prices.
From Queen City, Nevis, this is the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean, Vaughn Radio.
Back on this episode of Thought That Get Results. Edric W. Stanley, Conrad Nye-Liebert, Ted Hobson, Spencer Brand, Dr. Patricia Bartlett. Your phone calls on 1-869-469-1616 and 1700. And remind you, if you're looking at the show, or you can call up your friend, encourage them to look at the live stream. Go to our Facebook page, and also you can view us on YouTube. Go to YouTube and subscribe to us, and you see the feed, the video streaming. Edric, I wanted to move on to something else.
I just wanted to make the last point on what you, and I will be very short. We are moving into new inventions, and that is the point I was trying to say. Ted brought to the fore Orville Fox's idea or statement, and it might have been long before Mr. Fox's time, and it has been labeled your opinion. And I'm saying to you, as we go forward, we are bringing into the fore new inventions, new ideas, new discoveries, and therefore certain things can be categorized as archaic. And I'm saying to you, those who are coming up with their opinion, which sometimes are very misleading, get the facts, and so therefore let us use a new paradigm in terms of having the facts, and then you can state the facts. And if you want to call it your opinion, it's up to you. Bye-bye.
Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Good night, sir. Good evening. Good night to the panelists there.
Good night.
Gentlemen, my understanding of facts, and you can help me if I'm wrong here, is that facts are relative. Isn't that so?
Always.
Facts are not absolute.
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so. You remind me of you remind me of Trump chief advisor says alternative facts. You can't have alternative facts. Facts are facts.
Facts are facts.
Yes, but
Facts are indisputable.
let me go ahead and say what I'm saying.
Truth.
I am saying that facts are relatives. You have absolutes and you have relatives. From what I know, well, if you know it otherwise, fine, but I know facts to be relative. Facts are not always the truth. As a matter, let's take medicine or science. This year, you might hear that this particular scientist say, this thing is good for you. 10 years down the road, you might hear, no, that wasn't really good for you. But I know it doesn't matter what somebody else is saying, I always know facts to be relative or subjective. As such, if that is so, and it is so, facts are relative. And since facts are relative, of course you're going to have different opinions on facts. I just gave an example there, that what you know today to be so, 10 years down the road, you may find out it's not so. And all of us have been through those experiences. All of us have been through those experiences. So, I get back to the same point. Facts are facts. Yes, but they are relative. They are subjective. And as such, you're bound to have difference of opinion on facts. Good night.
Good night. I just wanted to use an example where the caller said something about an example about medicine. You can say that Mr. Brand killed Mr. Stanley, and it sounds like that's the fact. But, and you ask how? Say because they caught him, he was there. After the trial, Mr. Brand is set free. It wasn't no fact. It was a view.
That's right.
That was based on certain information.
Yeah.
It wasn't no fact. Good evening, thank you for holding. Good evening, thank you for holding.
Yes, good evening, Dr. Weber, and to your panelists. Yeah, so what is your topic about? The facts tonight, you can pick any topic.
Is something you'd like to make? You would like to make a comment or ask a question?
Yes, about the convention on Sunday.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
go.
No,
Yes.
what I really want to say is that I listened to the convention from beginning until the broadcast was about it from the radio. And there's something that I gather with Mr. Maynard is that I don't know what his idea was, but my idea is how can your enemy be in the room? So I'm saying if your enemy is not in the room, then who then is your enemy? So I want to try to find out whether the government of Nevis is the enemy, was in the room or out of the room. Because you see, these are the problems that we have. When we're going to speak in these kind of terms with a presentation like that, and you're talking about enemy.
Yeah, caller, the difficulty I'm having following you, and I don't know about the panel, is that I don't have any pretext to what you're discussing, and you seem to be suggesting that maybe maybe we are aware of certain things. So
you didn't follow the convention and
no, I didn't hear it. No.
Oh, okay, because he was coming on a freedom.
Yeah, most of the time, if yes. So I didn't get it, and the other folks are suggesting. But if you wanted to make a point, for instance, you can say, well, Mr. Maynard, who you said Mr. Maynard, right?
That's correct.
Okay. I gather he was the guest, right? The
That's
featured
correct.
speaker, right? And so he said what?
Well, he was just saying that your enemy must not be in this room. He's talking about the room where they were doing their broadcast from. So what I'm trying to find out is if there's an enemy in Nevis, because what we are looking at, Nevision is supposed to be Nevision. Doesn't matter which party you support. So I'm saying it should not be an enemy. I know it as an opponent. So then if my opponent is saying one thing and you are saying something, all you have to do is to make your point forceful and bring it out to the people so that people can understand. The simplest child can understand whether they need to go this way or that way. So I'm saying we're trying to figure it out.
Okay, so in essence, he made the speech, made the point, and one of the persons who was his target audience, which is you, left you confused.
Yes, because
okay.
I'm trying to figure out who was the enemy.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. So that suggests, at the very least, Edric, that was not effective communication. Because if you left the persons who were targeted and confused, then maybe he perhaps could have communicated it more successfully, right?
But
no?
it might have been tactical.
It might have been tactical, okay.
And that is, of course, a statement that was given by, I think, based on the information I got, he was the keynote speaker.
So it might have been designed to have some people confused, including the listener. That's what you're suggesting?
I don't know.
No, that's what I said. You said may have. It's possible.
It might have been tactical on his part to disseminate the information that way, because he knew what he wanted to get out of it. And I'm saying if he comes to Nevis to speak to Nevisians or the political parties or party, then in my view, he shouldn't come and talk about enemies. But I didn't hear. So I'm just dovetailing off of what the caller said.
Okay. The listener, the caller, haven't brought up that subject matter, though. It was interesting in terms of some of the key things coming out of the convention, that Mr. Hector, Roberto Hector, is now the leader of the Nevis Reformation Party, and Dr. Daly is the first vice president. I think that translates into the deputy leader. And then they've got a couple of other young persons and new persons. Bijan Hanley is the second vice president.
But Webo, you brought him here once to observe. What has become of that?
He did observe. No, but no, he'll be back. But that's the thing that, you know, we do. You know what I'm saying? So that it reminds me of when we started this station, and first couple of years that everybody keeps saying it's good, but we need the news, and I keep saying it's you know, we're working on it.
It's coming.
But I promise you that when we reach, we're going to drop solid. You know what I'm saying? And that happened. And the evidence will show that, you know, it worked, right? So, right. But I'll leave people to give their own evaluation. But the point is that it dropped solid. Right, Edward?
Quite so.
So, Bijan will be back. Good evening. Thank you for holding. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Good evening. Very interesting program. It's interesting to see how we're very keen on listening and hearing the certain stuff. Now, I listened to you a minute ago, you're talking about, the guy said about the enemy in the room. But when the Prime Minister then tell the RSS to rough them up, listen again, to rough them up, should that been said to the citizens of this country? And based on the situation with what's going on here with the RSS, as I guess you've been hearing all the reports, there was a Chinaman who was wanted. And I remember Timothy tell the police to rough him up, but to rough up the citizens of this country. We don't hear what we want to hear, when we want to hear, and analyze what we want to hear. Very interesting. You guys have a good night.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Yes, my other point is, did you listen to the Peter Wickham poll that he did?
I did.
Okay. Well, what I want to find out is that it's all right that he did a poll and he'd say he was 6 months old. But what really jumped out at me on Saturday when I listened to the Inside the News is Honorable Nigel Carthy was on the panel as the lone speaker. And what really bothers me is that, could you imagine that he's trying to put Peter Wickham in a politician seat instead of being a pollster seat? And then at the end of the day, he's saying that his poll is not valid. I'm just saying what I heard. And now could you imagine, Nigel Carthy now is saying that he's going to do a poll, they're going to do a poll before the end of the year. But while he was sitting in that room talking to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, there are people out there doing a poll. Because come to my knowledge on Monday morning, a young man I was talking to, and he said to me, could you imagine, while he was on Win FM talking about poll, he had people out there doing a poll in the village. So I'm saying, if he's going to do a poll, he must be practical. He must do a poll with right across the board, with people that vote for different parties, not people that vote for the Labour Party and not the Unity Party. So these are the problem that I have with these bright people in our country, trying to think that they can outsmart people by, he wants now to bring a poll by the end of the year and tell us, well, oh, Labour is up there and Unity is down there. We are saying Peter Wickham is a pollster, and that's why he's known across the region, being a pollster and bring facts. And when you bring facts, 90% of the time, he is right. God bless you guys. Have a good night.
All right, thank you very much. Good evening. Good evening, thank you for holding. Good evening, thank you for holding.
Yeah, good evening again, Mr. Weber. I'll have to call back in. Now, listen to a guy a minute ago talking about Peter Wickham poll. If you're saying to me, Mr. Weber, that the poll is 6 months old, I think they say it's 6 months, it's not valid. That's the first thing. Second thing, can I trust Peter Wickham on the poll? Early this year, I remember Peter Wickham uttered some stuff about Douglas. And the third question I'm going to ask you guys, if you do a poll of St. Louis, 68 square miles, 1,000 people done the poll, and you're saying to me that nobody in my project over here could say there was a poll or they were asked any question. Something is very fishy about the poll. Listen again, if a poll of St. Louis, 68 square miles, and you're going to say to me nobody in the Federation could come on this radio or could tell anybody in the Federation that they had somebody come and ask them a question about this poll. I cannot trust Peter Wickham. I cannot trust the Prime Minister. I cannot trust a lot of people right now. Have a good night.
Caller, I could ask you a question?
Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Can I ask you a question?
Go ahead, sir.
How many people you think they should have interviewed in order for you to be satisfied and trust the outcome of the poll?
Is not that how many people was interviewed. So you could have interviewed 50 people.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, you had a difficulty that. Okay, well, let me ask you this.
It's not just about
let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You said that they did a poll.
They said they do a poll. They say.
They said they did a poll.
Yeah, they say.
Right, but no one in a particular area.
No. Don't get it wrong. I just use the area as one of the yardstick. I'm saying
but then, caller.
Sorry, my bad.
Caller.
Nobody in the Federation could say that.
Walk with me.
Yeah.
I am only using the information that you gave me. You agree with that?
Yes, but I'm just using the area. But
so you're changing it now.
I'm talking about the Federation. Nobody in the Federation could say they were interviewed.
So, well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If persons in the Federation were able to say they were interviewed, then you would have confidence in the poll?
Not necessarily, though.
Okay. Well, let me ask this.
Yeah.
What would it have taken for you to have confidence in the poll?
To begin with, early up in this year, Peter Wickham launched an attack on Douglas. That's the first thing made me confident in him, dismal. Because there's a lot of issues where it's going on in the Federation. Peter Wickham didn't speak on it. Now we have the crime. We have a lot of stuff going on presently now to do with the Prime Minister. And he didn't
okay, so it is fair to conclude then that there's nothing that Peter Wickham could have said or done, given what you just said in terms of a reference to Dr. Douglas, that you would trust the poll?
No.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
My strong opinion.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was very strange because the same Peter Wickham used to do polls for the Labour Party, but so for some reason or the other, because this poll doesn't fit into the way they're liking, they're attacking him.
You know, I have some notes here to come to that. That ideology that is being pushed a lot from an international standpoint, from Trump and so on and so forth, and how people should start to look at things. Good evening, thank you for holding.
Yes, Mr. Weber. But you see the problem we have? No, the same Peter Wickham did poll more than once for the Labour Party.
Yeah, but that's okay. That we're addressing that. You have another point you want to make?
So I'm saying that, why should they put him under a political hat? That's my problem.
Okay.
They're saying, you know, because that's the word that I get on Saturday from Mr. Nigel Carty.
Okay.
And told me that was out of order.
Okay, all right. Now, what I was saying in reference to that is that I don't know how many of you have been following closely what is happening in the United States now. And with Trump and Lying Ted. And what you're finding is happening a lot. And people have to begin to understand how they've been used and so on and so forth. Because people say one thing now to get them as far as they can get. And then when they get there and then they find that is going to be used about, they say, forget about that. And then so in other words, everybody is now saying what is necessary at the time. So the burden lies on each individual to ascertain the credibility of everyone.
And where that is very difficult. When I've been looking at the U.S. media.
Let me take this. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Yeah, Mr. Hobart. Good night again.
Yes.
Yeah, your answer to the question that I asked or what I said, right? You're saying that sometimes somebody says something and it was not a fact. That was just their opinion. And I agree with you with that. However, I don't know whether you want to give me a good example of what you know is a fact, because you're not saying though that nothing is called facts, because of course that's the issue that you was talking about before. So we are establishing that there are facts in truth. Hello?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So
yes.
I understand that sometimes somebody says something and that is just their opinion, of course. And you made reference to that, and I agree with that.
Right, and they label it as a fact.
And they see it as a fact, but
right.
That was just the opinion. However, though, I am saying, though, moving on from that now, there are something in truth that are facts.
Yes.
Okay? And I am again saying that facts are relative, but Mr. Hobson is a liar. So let me put this question to Mr. Hobson. Mr. Hobson, you go to court. When you go into the court, you is a liar. The evidence that is given in there, in the court, what is that called?
Evidence.
Evidence. It's called evidence. Okay.
Some of it is fact, some of it isn't.
Okay. Well, I have been in court several times and here the judge refer to the evidence as facts. And the judge would tell me, the juror, I want you to look at these facts carefully and try to arrive at the truth. So, you want to compile as much facts as possible and to examine it carefully to arrive at the truth. That is how that's what the judge told me several times. But the judge didn't have to tell me this, because I learned that since I was going to junior school, that facts are facts. And facts is not always the truth. But you want to gather as much facts as possible so that you can examine the facts. And that will give you a better, yardstick where you can reach the truth. But not always the facts are the truth.
Facts are facts and facts is the truth.
Can I make an intervention?
No. The facts are not the truth.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Well, you see what I'm trying to say?
Look. I gave an example, you know.
Okay.
I gave an example, you know.
Can I make an intervention?
Well, let me go and say what I'm saying. I gave an example, you know. I am saying, even in science, what we know as facts today, 10 years from now might change. And you guys can't tell me no.
Okay. All right, caller.
You can't tell me no. It has been changing over and over and over and over.
Okay. All right, caller, thank you very much. Yeah, good evening. Thank you for... Okay, Dr. Bartlett?
No, it's okay. I don't think I can say anything that
But well, this is what I'm trying. The point I'm trying to make. And this person,
just hold a second. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Good night. The Peter Wickham, the Peter Wickham report. I understand Mr. Hobson to have said that the Labour Party doesn't like it.
But it sounds so now.
Yes. I listened to a program on Saturday, and my understanding is this, that they believe that Peter Wickham has an ulterior motive in publishing it at this time. The report was done since in May of this year, and they're questioning why it is, if the report was ready and prepared in May, they are now publishing it in October. And so they're saying that using that scenario, that there must be some ulterior motive in Mr. Wickham in doing so. This is how I understand their criticism. It may be, I don't know, that the report is published now simply because there may be a general election in the offing. But the question is, why the delay? Why use the report now as opposed to when it was completed in May?
So you didn't get the impression that they're questioning the content or the credibility of the information, but rather the timing in the release.
Yes, I listened to Senator Carty, but he didn't mention anything about an ulterior motive. It's me who's using those words. But
right.
They criticize his professionalism.
That's right.
Which is nonsense.
In terms of the release,
yes.
but my question, my question to you is: did you get the impression that apart from the timing of the release of the information, were they questioning the content?
I did not get that impression. I got the impression was their concern, their beef with it was with the timing of publication.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Can I make an intervention on that, though? I've been trying all night.
Make an intervention.
The way I understand polls, I don't know who would have commissioned the poll, but that person, has proprietary rights over a poll. So if I were to ask you, Weber, to do a poll for me, I have the right to decide when or if I want to release that poll. If I don't want to release it, then I don't. The pollster doesn't have any, he doesn't have that right. So just so that people could understand that, I don't think... What does Peter Wickham have to gain by getting involved in our local politics, as nasty as it is?
Yeah.
I mean, people ought not to do that. This is a professional and we need to respect the man's work.
Good evening again.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Is it interesting to listen to the lady saying that he's a professional? He's supposed to be a professional. And the guy made it clear. Why 6 months later you're bringing out this poll?
What I said, though,
my friend, listen again. You see, you have the motive to. Everybody have their one and their opinion.
Caller,
yeah.
This is how we operate, right?
Mm-hmm.
We give you your opportunity, and Dr. Bartlett wanted to make a point in reference to what you said. So, Dr. Bartlett, go ahead.
Yes, I don't know if he might have understood the point that I was trying to make, and I will try to make it again. I don't think that Mr. Wickham came here on his own volition to do a poll. I think he was asked to do a poll. He was commissioned to do some work, and it is not his proprietary right to release the results from a poll. Yeah. If he had taken it last year, he didn't have the right to release it.
Okay, ma'am.
So whoever he would have worked for, if they decided that they, for whatever reason, wanted to release it next year, they had that right. And he's obligated to do that because it's a part of his contract. So don't take an issue with him. Maybe you should try to take an issue with the people who commissioned the poll, as much as you don't like it. If you had liked the results, maybe you might have been singing a different song too.
I don't deal with polls, so that is not the result.
But you can do your own, you see.
Let me ask you a question, or let me ask you a question. Does Peter Wickham have the right to be getting involved in our politics earlier this year and launching an attack on Douglas? How can we trust the man with the poll?
But caller,
If you're the poll,
yeah, but it is your view that because he launched an attack on Dr. Douglas, you don't have the confidence in him.
And hold on, it's eliminate the confidence.
No, but that caller, that's what I ask you. So you don't have. Okay, so thank you very much. Good evening. Thank you for holding. Good evening. You're on the air.
Good evening, Weber. Oh, Lord. And good evening to your loyal panel. Weber, I don't trust Wickham Paul. And with due respect to Pat, my family and neighbor, if I am a politician with a political party and I ask someone to do a poll, I expect that poll to be favorable as I will want to see it, or as I will want it to be. That is politics. Let me tell you the problem I have with that poll, Weber. I believe that Denzel Douglas and Mark Brantley is the two most charismatic leader in the Federation. I have no doubt about that. When you can have Mark Brantley at 13% or 12%, I have a problem. Surely, I believe Mark Brantley is more popular than Sean Richards in St. Kitts Nevis. And you talk about his professionalism. Let me tell you something, see? Here, why I'm not going to be trusting this poll. And if I was the government supporters, I would have been nervous about it. Simple because 44% is silent. So who are the silent ones? And you're going to tell me with 44% of those silent people, that poll is going to favor the community government? How Wickham knows that? He don't know that. And here why I would have been nervous. Because when I look at it, you know, Mark Brantley Nevis, Timothy Harrison St. Kitts, and Sean Richards, as far as I'm concerned, in that 44%, it could go anywhere. So Team Unity has to be thinking, why that 44%? Why? Why? And I believe only Mark Brantley can upstage Douglas as it relates to charisma, none other. And here what I'm going to say lastly, and I said it already on another program, you know, and the ballot boxes is not Team Unity, you know. None. CCM, NRP, PLP, Labour, and Douglas Labour. And PAM. Nothing Weber is binding in a memorandum of understanding that if Mark Brantley carried 3 seats in Nevis, unless the PAM carry the equal amount, that Timothy Harris will be the next Prime Minister. Have a good evening.
Caller, could I ask you a question?
Of course, Weber, always.
You indicated in terms of your trust in reference to Peter Wickham and his poll.
Yes.
Do you know whether or not it is the first time he has done a poll in St. Kitts and Nevis?
No, it's not the first time, Weber.
Okay. Well, at the other times, did you have any confidence in the poll?
Because, Weber, I am on the ground.
No. I'm just asking. At the other times when you know polls were done,
yes.
I'm asking if you had confidence in them then.
Time.
Not this time. Okay.
Hear this, Weber. And lastly, he did not factor in the overseas voters either, you know. Are you saying that we have made up in our mind, because my friend Ted they laughing, that our overseas voters, our people, will not be a part of the process in the next election? Ponder on that. Have a good evening.
All right, thank you very much. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Yes, it's me again. Pat, even if the commissioner of the poll determined when the poll should be released or the results should be released, the question is still of timing. There must be, in the minds of the Labour Party, there must be something fishy about publishing it at this time rather than earlier. So whether you put the blame of publication on Peter Wicker or on the commissioner, the question still remains as to the fishiness of the publication at this time rather than...
I hear you, but it does not invalidate the poll. The man did a poll. He said at this moment in time, he was not saying that Team Unity gonna be winning the election. People take too much. People just, I don't think, basically we kind of have a fundamental understanding of what a poll is.
And in fact, to add to your point, perhaps, Dr. Bartlett, it maybe can give those who have a problem with it in terms of the validity, it can give them some assurance or some comfort rather that was 6 months ago.
That's right. That's right.
And so maybe now, that doesn't come into play. So, but it is rather interesting though to hear the different viewpoints and with the emotion. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Yes. Good evening, Weber. Now, could you imagine from 6 months to now, right, Mr. Weber? Could you imagine the amount of things had done between Sinkits and Nevis? If they were to do a poll now, they would have still not believed in the outcome. Because you know what? The amount of people in number 6 especially, roof was repaired from the hurricanes time after time. And they are experiencing now the blessings of Team Unity. It's going to be different because people got to speak truth to power. And this is the problem that we have in Sinkits and Nevis, because when you speak truth to power, somebody will get vexed. But that's the problem we have on the ground. But I'm telling you, right now, because they're seeing that the country is running good and the ship of state are sailing properly, people have a problem with that. But I'm going to tell you, don't be surprised if we have a 7-1 in Sinkits and 3 in Nevis. It's going to be a blowout situation. God bless you guys. Have a good night.
Edric W. Stanley, the Honorable Spencer Brand, Ted Hobson, Conrad Nye Liber, Dr. Patricia Bartlett. Your phone calls on 1-869-469-1616 and or 1700. We'll be back after these.
For a place you can go to and relax and enjoy a healthy meal, check out Island Life Vegetarian Food and Juice Bar located at Penny's Industrial Site below the supply office. They are open Monday to Friday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. They offer you healthy, delicious, nutritious food on a menu that boasts Ital food, sandwiches, burgers, roti, puddings, and much more. They have a wide variety of freshly squeezed fruit and vegetable juices and smoothies that includes beet, carrot, pumpkin, tamarind, star apple, and sarsaparilla, and much more. Contact them today at 660-5318 or 668-3107.
With all the power from the tower, this is the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean, VON Radio, from the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Back on this episode of Talk That Get Results. Your phone calls on 1-869-469-1616 and or 1700. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Yes, back on this poll. The question really is this. If that poll published now is really irrelevant, because I think it's irrelevant and that nobody should make any argument about it. But if we accept, as you just did, that the conditions of the poll then and now are vastly different, and the conditions now would favor the governing party, the governing Team Unity. So if that poll published now is irrelevant, what was the purpose of publishing it then? I mean, it's mischievous, and do you not think it's misleading people? Not many people knew that the poll was done since in May.
But caller,
So-
let me
so
ask you
it-
this. Let me ask you
It seems
this.
to be mischievous
Well, let
and
me
misleading the public.
caller, let me ask you this.
Mhm.
If I were to tell you, or to sell you a refrigerator, and tell you that the refrigerator has a dent in it, but I'm selling you for $1,000, but it has a dent in it. You buy the refrigerator, can you accuse me of misleading you?
We are talking about the date of publication.
No, I'm not speaking about the poll.
Well, you've given me the information, and it's left to me to buy it.
Okay.
But
now let me ask you this.
But that's a different example.
Work with me.
That is
Work.
a different example.
Work with.
It seems.
No, caller, work with me. Work with me.
Go ahead.
Right. So in the question that I asked, you have admitted or suggested that I did not mislead you.
No.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this.
We are not talking about the contents of the thing.
Just
The-
work
the
with.
contents-
No,
the
just.
contents-
No, just. Caller,
Go ahead.
just work with me. Right?
Yes.
Okay. If I were to do a poll, not Peter Wickham.
Yes.
If I were to do a poll, and when I release the poll, I were to say to you, this poll was done in January. This is June. And it therefore suggests that at the time in January, had the election been held, this would have been the winner based on the result of the poll. Did I mislead you?
You did not mislead me, but the point is this. If when you publish it, what was published in the poll has no relevance to the actual facts, no. It is mischievous.
Yeah, but work with me. I'm saying, but I'm saying, yeah, but I'm saying.
I am not arguing.
No,
that
if you want to make
we
a
are talking about the date of the
right,
publication.
right, but if you want to make another point, that's fine. But I'm speaking specifically to the points that I have made, right?
Go ahead.
So you agree then that if I do that, then I would not be misleading you.
If you do what?
If I were to state
the
facts that I did the poll in January, 6 months ago, and were the election to be held at that time, this would have been the likely outcome.
What? Yes. So let me.
Right, based on the conduct of the poll. Did I mislead you?
No.
Okay.
That is if you are publishing the poll, let us say within a month or two.
No, but no. You are changing. If you want to make up your own scenario, let me know. But the scenario I gave you, you can't change it. You have to answer within the scope.
Forgive me, your argument will not persuade me.
No, I'm not seeking to persuade. I'm not seeking to persuade you,
But
because
that's what you're trying to do, as well as I am trying to persuade you.
No, I am not. No.
We are
but,
both trying to.
No, I am not trying to persuade you. I'm not trying to persuade you. I'm just trying to find out whether or not, in the circumstances, if I did something and gave you full disclosure, is it fair for you to then say, I mislead you?
We are not saying that you are misleading us. The contents of the poll at the time were true according to what we believe the truth is.
So therefore,
what we are saying is that it is an outdated report coming in October, and that itself could mislead people who did not know the date that it first came out, and not many people knew that.
But okay, so let us accept that. Then it is important for the discussion then and the debate for us to highlight it, so that when we're arguing or debating it, we put those factors in.
Well, with respect to Senator Carty, he did accept the report.
But
he also thought that the publication, when it came in October, had behind it some ulterior motive.
But I'm not debating that. I'm not debating that. What I'm saying is that people ought to look at the facts and then make the assessment based on that.
Well,
right? And that is why I ask you whether or not Senator Carty or whoever was making the point, whether or not they had any issues with the actual report.
I cannot say that they had issues with the content of the report. Their concern was the timing of the publication.
But let me ask you this, caller. When do you think when do you think should have been a fair time to release the poll? A month later? Yes. 2 months later? A week later?
I myself do not know much about these polls, but from what I gather, such a poll is published within about 2 or 3 weeks or months of the calling of a general election or before the election is called.
Okay.
That is why these polls are commissioned just before.
Jerry, that is so ridiculous.
No, Jerry,
let's not identify the caller by name since they did not do that, okay?
Sorry.
As I say, the publication of these reports are usually not too far before a decision is taken whether or not to call a general election, so that the party in power will know how they stand generally from the contents of the poll.
The caller, just by way of information, that is not entirely correct. I know there have been polls that have been done in St. Kitts and Nevis that have been, released years maybe before an election.
Yeah, midterm.
Okay? All right. Thank you very much. Good evening. Thank you for holding. Good evening. You're on the air.
Good night, Weber. And good night to Mr. Stanley there.
Yes, you go right ahead, caller.
And my good friend, Ted Upson. No, Mr. Weber, in this federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, the Labour Party always got a problem when they're in opposition. And they will do anything and to say anything to bring down the government to heel. Now, Mr. Peter, we come to poll. He done the poll here already. And they want to accept it. I want to know if it was Labour now was in government, and Mr. Peter we come to that poll, and that poll as it be now, I want to know if they'll accept the poll as they'll accept the poll Mr. Peter we come to. And I want to talk a little on the crime. Now the RSS, the media, Weber, everybody know that in the opposition, when the farmer government was there, what was going on? Now this government come in and they're trying to do what they got to do with the crime. The RSS, they come here twice and they criticize the RSS and they're saying all kind of negative things. When the RSS go back, what's going to happen in this country and all kind of things. Suppose that them people, suppose they try to understand and talk to the young people and tell the young people keep out of trouble. They're boosting up the young people oh, the RSS come here shaking up and harassing the young people man. And then I'm going on and think it Nevis. Now, if the young people killing one another, children dying, and these people come in and they see that, they come in to prevent that from happening. And people in this country got a problem with it. I know people got children who gone down. Two children gone down in this gun violence they got. And still cutting the RSS them to come here and shaking up the young man them in the avenues them who they feel like they're bad and all kind of thing. So I don't know what we're going in this country with the opposition, because as far as they're concerned, a unity government is there, and they're trying hard the very best. They're trying hard the very best to wipe out corruption where they went with. And then, God, they're getting somewhere with it. You have a wonderful night. God bless.
All right, thank you very much. Good evening. Thank you for holding. Please call back. 869-4691-616 and 1700. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Yes, good evening again, Weber. Weber, this is a real strategy, you know. I got to tip me hat to you. Now, you see, the problem we have in the country is that plenty of great people believe that they're so smart that they want to dodge and hope. And we are saying that the problem is, if I ask somebody to do a poll to certify certain things, at the end of the day, whenever I want to release the poll, whether it's 6 months old or a year old, it doesn't matter. But we are saying that election is not due until 2020, but the Prime Minister can call it at any time. But I'm saying that when you look at the system and the way it was done, the poll was done in St. Kitts and Nevis. They didn't went and ask all Labour people or all Unity people. They asked everybody because nobody knows who was voting for who. And at the end of the day, they might ask you who you favor. And they might say, well, okay, I favor Unity, I favor Labour. But this is the problem I have. If it was done the other way around and it favor Labour, everybody is having all good and well. But because the hat does not fit them, it becomes a problem. So I'm saying we need to wake up in this country. Party come, party go, but our country remains. We need to vote for our country, make sure our country stays stable, and the crime and whatever stay as an all-time low, because this country belongs to us. And if we love it, we're going to make sure whatever done for the benefit of all the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, whether you're Labour, PAM, Unity, UPP, and no UPP at all. God bless you.
All right, thank you very much. Good evening. Thank you for holding. Good evening. You're on the air.
Good evening again, Mr. Weber. Very interesting to listen to caller concerning crime. Very, very interesting. I could recall our leader today is the most likely to get killed in St. Kitts and Nevis. Leaders, you see, when Labour was in power, the leader today was not willing to help to do nothing. Let me ask a question, Mr. Weber. You could remember some years ago when Douglas was in power, we sent some army over to Nevis to help with the crime? And Mark Brantley run the army out to Nevis. You remember that?
No.
You don't remember?
No.
Hello?
No, I don't remember.
You don't remember?
No.
But you see, I don't have a problem, Mr. Weber, with the artists and singers, but people must be honest. If it's honesty, it's a major problem. Now, I could recall C.G. Waldron came here to help us with the same crime. It is there that C.G. Waldron was responsible for the crime in Nevis. C.G. Waldron must go to St. Kitts with the foreign accent. That was the Prime Minister today. And I asked you again about the people in Nevis, the police, the army in Nevis. But today you're saying to me that I must accept, Mr. Weber, the houses in my country. When Timothy Harris said, Dr. Joe and them guys come take over our country, the guy from St. Vincent Bankwater come here. Instead he go to the reserve first. He jumped to the RSF first. Why the money can't say St. Kitts and Power Reserve?
Let me ask you, caller. Yeah. Mr. Brantley ran the army out of Nevis?
That was clear when Douglas sent him to Nevis.
Work with me.
Yes, he said he don't want the army in Nevis.
Oh, he said he doesn't want them in Nevis. So and caller, listen how we roll, right? One person speak at a time, because that's the way I know people understand.
Continue. When you asked my questions, I was answering at the same time.
You know Mr. Brantley ran the army out of Nevis?
Stop being technical, please.
No, I'm not being technical. I'm just asking you a question.
Mr. Weber, the debate in Nevis that they don't need the army in Nevis, they must go to Nevis. And they came out of Nevis.
So the truth is Mr. Brantley did not run the army out of Nevis.
Man, Mr. what you mean so technical?
No, the truth is Mr. Brantley did not run.
They won the army out of Nevis. That is the truth. That is the fact.
Okay, I got you. I got you. So I got you.
That is the fact.
But the truth is he did not.
I can't say the truth, he did not. He did.
Okay, I got you.
He was one speaking on behalf of the army in Nevis.
No, listen.
He was the person speaking on behalf of the army in Nevis, Mr. Weber.
The truth is, but I asked you a direct question. Did Mr. Brantley run the army out of Nevis?
His words?
His words ran them out.
Yes.
His words ran them out.
Yes.
Not him.
Well, Mr. Weber, I think you need to come back to the listen. I think you guys been a little bit biased. I'm going to be honest.
Biased because I ask you.
Biased in general.
Oh, yeah, the caller
No,
Mr.
no, but I ask you a specific.
Hold on.
No, you made a point.
Mr. Weber.
I ask you, did Mr. Brantley run the army out of Nevis?
Mr. Weber, why are you being so technical?
Okay.
You understand politics?
Okay. That is why I asked you the question, because I understand politics. You get it? That's exactly why I asked you the question, because I understand politics. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Yeah, Mr. Hobart. I have to laugh, you know. The objection that the opposition has in regard to the poll, we all know that they have an objective, right? Of course we do. And what all opposition will do, anytime a poll come out that don't favor them, they will try to discredit that poll. Whichever side is in opposition. Everybody knows that. So whether they're contesting the content or the timing, the objective is still the same. It's to discredit the poll. That's one point. The second point is, did I hear a caller say earlier that about 44% of the persons that was polled was undecided?
The caller did say it.
Okay, well, the caller said it. I don't listen. I wasn't listening, the report and so on. But if that is true, then I would have thought what the opposition would do is to listen carefully, and they can use the poll to their advantage. I wonder if you understand where I'm going. I mean, we've been voting in these countries for years, you know, and based on trend and so on, people can make certain determinations. Now, I'm not sure that 44% was undecided, but I'm going on that premise. If it is so, it tells me a few things. It tells me that at this point, it seems like there's no clear winner. And that people might not be happy with the ruling party and now with the opposition. But I get back to the point again that why don't the opposition be smart and look at it from another point of view as well and say, well, what? A chunk of people out there who is undecided. As such, the poll help them now to strategize better. They can, why don't look at it that way, rather than being so cocky and think that all of us in the Federation is stupid? I'm telling you, when I hear people speak certain things, I want to know what they're saying, you know, because if I was in opposition, yes, of course, we know that you want to discredit the poll. But I wouldn't be placing so much emphasis on that. I would now take this poll and see that a good amount of the people out there who is undecided. And I would now be gearing towards those people so you can use the poll to your advantage as well. Why aren't somebody looking at that? Good night.
Good night.
Well, you see how you try to talk with the caller just before this one, and he's got an opinion which is misleading, because he's trying to tell you that the Honorable Mark Brantley ran the RSS out of Nevis, and he couldn't come to terms with directly answering your question. But he gave an opinion, and in his view, the Honorable Mark Brantley ran the RSS out of Nevis, and with his influence, he could mislead people.
No, what happened in another jurisdiction, they call that he has talking points. So, you know, that's how they operate in another jurisdiction. Are you following me?
I'm following you clearly, but I'm
Good
trying
evening,
to understand
thank you.
the point.
Good evening, thank you for holding.
Good evening, Weber.
You're on the air. You're on the.
Yeah, I'm just calling to find out exactly, because I don't understand what some of these people in St. Kitts and Nevis want. They were arguing
the other day, there's too much killings and everything else. Now the RSS is in St. Kitts and Nevis. The killing have slowed down and the crime have slowed down. I understand. And at the same time, they're arguing that they don't want these people in St. Kitts and Nevis. So what they want? They want the killing to continue. I mean, it doesn't look good on Facebook, and when you go on every day, the whole world will see that something happened. But now there is no news per se. Since they are there, there's no news of that magnitude, and certain people in St. Kitts and Nevis seem as if they want the killings and the robberies and the whatever, all the wrong things to happen in Nevis, based on what I'm listening and hearing. And we were on the ground, again, we had a conversation before. I think the police there and the army there should see what these people are doing, and just when they have to leave, when they leave, to just do the same thing, because I mean they look at the results presently, and I think they should see what they are doing and continue with the same process while it's holding down the crime issue. Good night, and to you and your panel.
Oh, thank you for calling. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Yes, I just want to correct Mr. Stanley. He said the RSF is the army. I just said Mr. Brantley run out of Nevis. So let's get that part straight. Okay? The army and the RSF.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Webo, can I just add something to this?
Just 1 second. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Good evening again, Mr. Webo. Concerning the RSS, nobody said they have a problem when the RSS going to be kicking down the door, beat up a man, bang up the man, tongue him up, break up his ribs, till they're going to slap you off, attacking people like that. That's what they come in our country to do. Maybe you don't understand what we're saying. The same thing in America. They have crime, so it's okay for the policeman when we see following a man and bang him up and beat him up. We cry over the same incident what goes on in the United States of America. We call it brutality with the same white police. But we must accept it and think it because the government is in power. Come on, people, man. The RSS is attacking the citizens. That's what we're saying. They're attacking us. We ain't a criminal. Go look for the criminal. There was a shooting.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Bartlett.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something to clarify. Tonight we've been banding around some 44%, but what I wanted to I have a copy of the poll here, and I just want people to go to Caribbean News online, and they'll get the information there. Because I think sometimes we just repeat what we hear and without really understanding what is being said. The question was, and I think what was being highlighted was, the question was asked whether St. Kitts and Nevis was on the right track, and 44% of the respondents would have said that they were unsure or they would not say. They were in the category of people who were either unsure or they, for whatever reason, whether they felt that they would, well, let me not say what they felt.
They did not give an opinion.
Right, they didn't. Right, so that is what that 44%, would have been referenced in the document. And 39% would have said that it was on the right track, and 17% would have said, it would have been on the wrong track. So please, people, just go to Caribbean News online, and you'll get the entire document there that Peter Wickham would have published.
One of the things that I think we ought to appreciate and understand, that people will have discussions, opinions, debates, and so on and so forth. How you conduct them, and if I dare say the quality of the discussion and the debate, is what makes all the difference. For instance, the gentleman Mr. Stanley just pointed out, I, humbly and politely asked him just to reiterate what he said, and I think he knew where I was going. And you notice he called back, but he went on to another point. Now, I have confidence in the public that they will see exactly where that is and make their own conclusion. So that when persons, that's why we're here. We have a discussion, we have a debate, we have opinions, and everybody's not going to have the same opinion. But we have a discussion, and based on that, in terms of the reasoning and the logic, we hopefully can arrive at a good or better place.
Well, you always reiterated, you've always done that. That just because the truth is not told doesn't mean it's not known. And I'm saying, let us arrive at a higher plateau and bring to the fore the truth and the facts. Or they're one and the same thing. And when somebody tells you, I don't want to see, I don't want to hear, that's what they already formed their opinion. Without understanding the importance of the truth and the fact.
But that is exactly where we're at, not just in St. Kitts and Nevis, in the world. Because I had mentioned that I wanted to go to some international affairs and zero in on what's happening in the United States. And to show where, right now, as they're doing the campaigning and so on for the midterms, you have instances where, when the media, for instance, interview some of the voters and some of Trump's supporters, and they said to them, well, didn't you realize that this was not true, and that was not true? And in the example with Lion Ted, he is a senator, very responsible, and then he says, well, what about that? The idea is I want to win. So the question is now, what must people do? When the same people now come back and tell you now, tomorrow, something, how should you value it? What weight should you put on it? Because by the next day, after mission accomplished, they say, okay, don't bother with that. And that is exactly what we are facing now, because somebody made a point, for instance, and they said, well, the same Peter Wickham did polls for the Labour Party, etc., etc., etc. So we now need to sift through that and see whether or not people are just presenting talking points.
Well, you know, some people would say the end justifies the means.
but that is why
which is wrong.
That is why it is necessary, because people will always be like that. But it is necessary, as you said. If you believe in what is fair and right, you still got to plow and encourage and go ahead and make your point and so on and so forth, because those people have a right to think the way they think as well. Naya.
was lying dormant for a while.
Well, I'm listening. You know, the first discussion there about facts and opinion, and I wanted to chip in on that because I think the caller wasn't right when he said that when he went to being a jury and the judge give him the facts to come up with a decision. But of course, I suppose the judge gave him the evidence for him to deduce the facts from the evidence, and you know, with that expectation that the jurors will do that and come up with you know, make a decision on the case. So I think he was a bit not right on his opinion about facts and opinion there. Webo, yes, Webo. The end justify the means is not something that we should always employ, as you know, as a guiding kind of concept, really, because I mean that's what we see here, Webo. We're talking about betterment going forward. We're talking about more trust in people. We're talking about that new paradigm. Doesn't it involve all this in terms of people coming straight with people, people being very factual with people, and let people make up their own mind, have an opinion, and act accordingly. So not because something's going to be happening soon, and of course you want the support of the people. You can, what could I say, mystify a situation, and hoping that at the end of the day you can benefit from it. I think that is the thing that is destroying the integrity of the whole political scene around here.
Okay, Naya, just let me take this. I'll get back to you. Good evening. Okay, sorry, go ahead, Naya.
Yeah, and as it is internationally as well, it's playing out himself. And I hope that, we here in the so-called third world doesn't adapt these kind of gestures and hope really to go very far with it. Those people who usually do that, people in authority, Webo, just the other day I've been contemplating a lot about the 20%, and I'm about to give them a lot more of the blame as to the society in which we live, because, these are people who was at the helm all the time, and of course what we are experiencing now is a society which in a lot of ways they have actually carved by their opinions and policies and so forth going forward. But the end justify the means is something we should really look at in a very skeptic way, and not to allow youngsters to feel like that is the way forward. And for the people, the electorate, they should realize now, and I believe, Webo, that the upcoming election should be one where the people should be at their peak. Their peak in terms of understanding what has been taking place, and looking at themselves and looking at the others who is at the helm. And I hope they can realize that it's almost like a game. There is no real genuineness coming out of it, really. And at the end of the day, the people have been led, and they act. You give people that authority, and the people has been really misled. It's no betterment would come out of these kind of situation, Webo. I think when we speak of a new paradigm in politics and so forth, one really should take time out, especially those who are actually on stage, because you always find those who want to get on stage talk about this new paradigm, and when they get on stage, Webo, they tend to employ the old tactics, the old tricks all the time. So the responsibility becomes ours.
Okay, let me take this. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Yes, Mr. Weber. Now, look at this point I'm going to make now. Now, could you imagine? Let's suppose that the Labour Party was to bring out a poll between late November, early December, or thereabouts, and they bring out a poll and you say otherwise to this one that they are debating on right now. How will you think that the people of the Federation will respond? Because
yeah, but caller, I think we already established, right, that it comes down to whether people understand the factors that are involved and wherever they want. Because some people would not even want to assess that. They probably just say, well, that is not in favor of me, and therefore. So, but the point is what we have to try and help to ensure that the facts are there. Okay?
That's correct.
Okay.
Webo, insofar as the RSS is concerned, this is not the first time that the RSS has been brought in here. During the time when Dr. Douglas was Prime Minister, the RSS came here a couple of years back. But it is strange now that the Labour Party doesn't want the RSS here. In fact, even before the RSS set foot here, weeks ago, Dr. Douglas wrote to Gonzalez, Prime Minister Gonzalez, who is president of the OECS, telling him not to allow the RSS to come here. So all of a sudden now they're talking about the RSS beating up people. Dr. Douglas objected to the RSS coming even before they've come here. I mean, and that is what we're saying. It seems as though everything the government does, and it seems to me any government, the opposition seem to have an obligation to go against it, which is a horrible situation we have arrived at.
Because some people, Ted, have the philosophy, you're in opposition, so you're supposed to oppose.
Smashing up the place.
Yeah,
No
and when we started the program, I think somebody mentioned about its enemies. When the speaker from St. Kitts came over to speak to, from the Labour Party, speaking to the convention, and he's talking about enemies. Where does that come from? I've been in politics for all these years, and it's nowadays that I'm hearing enemies. The other side is an enemy. How come we're enemies if we disagree with somebody? Let's start thinking seriously about these matters. We are not enemies, we are opponents, we have a different view. As Stanley was saying, some people are not entitled to an opinion. But as far as I'm concerned, everybody is entitled to opinion. Everybody is entitled to support who they want to support. I myself have supported NRP people working with the government. In fact, some of the people who are working with the government, I have moved strongly and supported them because I believe everybody has a right to support who they want to support.
Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Yeah, Mr. Weber, good evening. I just want to touch a little bit on the poll. The polls. I don't know, y'all were discussing it, right?
Yes, go ahead, caller.
The polls that were, according to the Mr. Wangi, the poll was taken somewhere around between May and June. And I think that the Prime Minister, his ratings was very high in terms of the leaders. He polled, I think, 36% to Dr. Douglas, 31%. And I am wondering, I don't know if your panel touching it because I wasn't listening to the program all the time. If any of the panelists took into consideration that the time when the polls were taken, the Prime Minister was in this Peter Birdie scandal. You understand? So I'm wondering if they do a poll now, what would be the rating? Because in the midst of the scandal, he beat out all the rest in terms of his popularity, right? So that is my little contribution. I just want to put it to you guys. As I said, I didn't listen to the program all the time. I wasn't listening all the time. Yeah. All right. I'll continue to listen.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Yeah.
Good evening. You're on the air.
Yeah, good evening again, Weber. Now, Weber, to be truthful, right? I want to know that if the opposition really taking crime and making a political issue, that is what I see down here right now. Because, you know what they say now? Oh, because they want to see 27 murders, like how we have, like how 27, they had 27 murders. I think going to 26 or 27 murders, he had it, on the Labour. No, they say down, just because they don't want 27 murder in Sinky, they bring our wishes here. But look what happened. You don't come, you don't kill one another, going to do one another, half another, ignore this. You know what I'm saying? I want to know people to think they're using crime to bring down the government.
But caller, let me ask you this.
Yes.
When they did the poll,
yes,
and if they're not arguing, persons are not arguing about the content. What was the situation with the crime?
The situation with the crime was the same thing all the time.
Okay. And okay. And the poll still suggested that the government in office have an election at that time when the situation with the crime was the same, they would still win, right? Yes,
the government at the
okay,
time.
Okay, so then
2010 there the same crime going on, and the government, the Labour Party win the government again.
Okay.
Right? So they just taking this crime and make it a political issue, and I believe that they should stop, because is my brother, your sister, my sister should killing on one another. Everybody is family members who doing this thing to one another now. It ain't nobody coming from different countries and doing this thing to us. It's us doing it to us. And it should stop.
Okay.
Okay, then, remember.
All right, thank you very much. One of the things that is fascinating is that everybody keeps talking about negative campaigning negative advertising, etc., when it comes to politics. Nevertheless, it continues because what happens? The study shows that it works.
The end justifies the means.
I want to pick up where the caller left off as it relates to crime. I believe that every right-thinking individual in St. Kitts and Nevis recognizes that crime is a problem, and there is no other way to describe it, especially violent crime, murders. And I believe, Webber, that every right-thinking citizen in St. Kitts and Nevis wants to see this problem dealt with once and for all. Whether it is RSS, Scotland Yard, FBI, CIA, I would say bring them to help and fix this problem. I don't believe, Webber, that the ordinary man and woman on the street in St. Kitts and Nevis is comfortable with the level of violent crime in St. Kitts and Nevis. And I believe that if we are serious about our country, whether in government or out of government, this is a problem that all right-thinking people ought to have remedied once and for all. And it ought not to be a political football, regardless. And I say that, Webber, because, I mean, we sit around this table here. All of us in this room here would have lost people we are close to. Right? I don't have to call the names, but all of us here. Right? And sometimes it really, really hurts me, Webber, when we take these kind of issues and we turn them into political football without any clear end game. At the same time, we have people are dying. Webber, I want to quickly just mention about Peter Wickham, because this is a name, Webber, that I believe that the whole Caribbean is aware of. Peter Wickham and the huge volume of polling that he would have done over the years. This is a gentleman, Webber, and his organization who would have done polls that would have stood the test of time and stood the scrutiny. Whether the outcome is what some people like or don't like, the fact is that this is a very reputable individual. And for a person to attack the reputation of this individual, that is what kind of bothers me.
But you don't, but that could be exactly the point, though, Mr. Brand? That is why it has been done?
Well, perhaps.
Okay.
Perhaps. You spoke about a letter earlier. I would like to get a copy of that for my archives. Because I believe that the person would have captured, Webber, what we try to do here at Von Radio every Tuesday night. I remember the late Albert Myers. I think I would have missed a show one time, and he gave me a scolding about it. He said that this thing is serious. This is a commitment that you have. Everything else, you know, he gave me a long talk about it, and how important it is that what we do here. I think tonight we spoke about facts and alternate facts and so on and so forth. I have learned, Webber, that within this small room here, this is not really, this is what I call a no-spin room, really. And I believe that the person would have captured, based on what you would have read, what we try to do here, try to educate the people, try to give them the facts, and not try to put any spin on anything, because at the end of the day, they are looking to us to be guided to make life-changing decisions. So is a copy I would like to get of that letter.
And you not just only want to put in your archives what was said about Mr. Stanley.
No.
This is Talk That Get Results. The Honorable Spencer Brand, Edric W. Stanley, Ted Hobson, Conrad Naya Liebert, Dr. Patricia Bartlett. Your phone calls on 1-869-469-1616 and or 1700. Back with our remaining minutes right after these.
When VON vibrates, the whole Caribbean must shake.
860 AM, the powerhouse.
Island Roofing and Hardware Limited, located next to the Monduk Track on Long Point Road, Nevis, specializes in the manufacture of 24-gauge pre-painted Galvalume roof sheets and the sale of tropical green hat lumber. They offer the traditional corrugated roof design for residential buildings along with the U-panel design for commercial buildings. Their roof sheets measure 42 inches in width and are manufactured on site and can be cut to whatever length you desire, thus eliminating the need for joining your roof sheets. Their aluminum-based roofing sheets, which are available at an affordable price of only $14 per foot, are of the highest quality. Their opening hours are Monday to Friday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. daily. For more information, call 664-2441 or 664-2959. Island Roofing and Hardware Limited, meeting your complete roofing needs by providing quality products at affordable prices.
Tiles, and more tiles. Builders Paradise is the largest supplier of tiles. Tiles from as little as $3.95. Tile cement, 50-pound bag from as little as $37.44. And oh, don't forget to check out their Saturday sale for even better discounts. Visit them today at C.A. Paul Southwell Industrial Site, St. Kitts, or call them at 466-4938. Builders Paradise, where your island dreams begin.
Back on this episode of Thought That Get Results, our remaining minutes with Dr. Patricia Bartlett, Conrad Nyaliber, Ted Hobson, Edric W. Stanley, and the Honorable Spencer Brand. Your phone calls on 1-869-469-1616 and or 1700.
Well, I just look at that Dr. Timothy Harris seemingly has just put in place this program of young men to bring about something to address the behavior of these young people in several communities in St. Kitts, and I hope we will be having some in Nevis. And it is somewhat down the same avenue regarding the Behavioral Institute that I mentioned. And if the powers that be could put some time in to analyze that which Dr. Harris, or Prime Minister Harris, has put in place with reference to the young people, and we can bring about, some people have spoken about before, for this Behavioral Institute, then I think we would be making some grounds. Now, that report that the Honorable Spencer Brand wants to get into his archives, I hope
you want a copy too?
No, I don't need a copy, because I have already stated my point. But the thing is, if I hear something and it is not factual, because I would say, of course, that wasn't on the program last time we were here, but Pat met me outside and she said to me, I don't want to see the facts. I don't want to hear it.
Stanley, you don't want to bring that here.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying,
do not want to bring
I'm just saying to you, I'm just saying to you that based on that attitude, because I've analyzed you over the period of time you've been here and you've spoken certain things, and if they're not correct, it is my obligation. Again, let me repeat and underscore that. It's my obligation to say to the public, here, this is the right view, and these are the facts.
No.
It's not.
From your point of view, you're leaving out those little words all the time, Mr. Stanley.
No, I'm just
from your point of view, it's wrong, so you would tend to clear the air from your point of view.
No.
He has an opinion, and for the most part, sometimes you have an opinion and it's not based on facts. And we talk about you want to challenge facts with what you feel.
No,
Mr.
That is how you.
Webo,
you have seen it in terms of coming and asking about doing this and set aside programs, quota systems, and I'm saying to you, that is the wrong attitude. You have to, in fact.
But it had nothing to do with attitude. But you want to go into a different discussion.
No. I'm attempting to do housing for the poor, and you have brought those things, and I'm saying to you, let us try and teach them how to fish rather than giving them a fish. And I'm just saying to you, I have known when I have opposed and what I have opposed, and I certain that things you have said that I've agreed with you. So, when Mr. Brand gets it and puts it in his archives, those are the things you should
Dr. Bartlett, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted earlier on when the caller had called in, and I was trying to make an intervention at that point, because what I know as a, in the field that I am in, there are truths and then there are facts. And the difference between a fact and a truth is that a fact is a verifiable truth. You have something that is the truth, but until someone else could verify it, it is not a fact. Once you can verify it, then it's a fact. So Mr. Stanley could say whatever he likes, and he says that this is the truth. But if I can't get somebody to verify that, then I cannot document it as a fact. And that is the difference. It is not a lot of difference, but it is a slight difference between what is the truth, and facts are truths. But they're just that they have been proven. They're proven truths. Okay, just the intervention I wanted to make at the time when the caller earlier was going on about the differentiation between the facts and the truth. So I think I'm hoping that he would, think about it and kind of get the understanding as to scientifically what the truth is and what the fact is. They're not that they're so well.
What is required is time, effort, and due diligence to ascertain the truth and to put it in the column as fact or truth. So
fact or truth?
Once it gets into the column of the fact, it means that it is a truth that has been
I'm saying to you, if you don't put the time in to make that determination, then you would always have those two categories, but they're one and the same.
No, they're not.
Like Webber has always said on this program, the fact that it is not told does not mean that it's not known. So if it is not told, those are two categories. But it is still one and the same.
It is not one and the same.
If the truth is not told, it doesn't mean that it's not known.
So who is debating that?
I'm just trying to go down the same argument that you brought to the fore.
Good evening, thank you for holding.
Mr.
Good evening, you're on the air.
My understanding is this. Facts are established theories that is accepted by majority. Let me give an example. I am 60 years, and since I know myself, I have heard a good portion of Nevision say that Nevis is about 50 square miles in area. However, any geography book you look into, you will see Nevis has 36 square miles. I'm not sure whether it's what those people say is true, but I'm giving you an example here. So you have people in Nevis presently who still believe that Nevis is 50 square miles, or it could be a little less because, of course, we know, erosion and so on, but it goes for the 36 square miles too. So, my understanding of facts is this. It is established and accepted by the majority, but it doesn't always necessarily is the truth.
A fact is a fact. And I'm saying to you, the analogy that he just brought, I could give him evidence.
Okay.
As a boy, I used to walk from Charlestown to.
Why don't we do this? Caller, work with me.
Yes.
Take the caller. Take another couple of seconds because we're running out of time. Finish up and I'll let Mr. Stanley.
I'm saying it is established right now that Nevis is 36 square miles. That's what I read in all the geography books. I'm simply saying that reputable people in Nevis do not believe that. Good night.
Good night. Mr. Stanley?
I'm saying that based on what I know, Nevis has always stated to be 50 square miles. But when I came back here, I understood it was 32 square miles. But I could tell you the evidence is there that an enormous amount of coastal erosion has occurred. I walked from Charlestown to Cane Bay, and there's a stone on which I fished. Probably it's 40 feet from the land.
Time for a light moment. When you say you fish, what do you mean?
line fishing.
Did you catch anything?
Oh, sure I did.
What did you catch?
First thing you'll catch is a Congo. All right? So when you look at other parts, you would see where an enormous amount of erosion has occurred. And you can state that the information we had from a geographical and size of Nevis at that time, 50 square miles, was correct. So the caller is saying that he has never seen anything anywhere else written with reference to the 50 square miles. But Nevis, based on what I learned, was 50 square miles, but the evidence is there. And it probably was larger than that because I'm certain Nevis...
All you have to do is put in the qualifiers. In 1950, Nevis was 50 square miles. However, in 1980, we did the measurement again, it's 36.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
It's simple. Correct?
Simple.
All right.
That's the last word. This is Thought That Get Results. This program repeats tomorrow at 10 o'clock following the VON News Minute. Join the Honorable Mark Brantley tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock for On The Mark. Thank you all again for joining us. This is your voice in the community. Thought That Get Results. You all have a wonderful evening.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding